Good afternoon, everyone. This is Tim Terrio, once again bringing you the TERRIOFit Challenge webinar. I thought today that we're going to review a few things. We got a question. So, again, as we've talked about in the past, we're going to review a few things. Just make sure that there's some awareness with all of this. Today's topic is O to Dream. Hopefully you're all going through the books and have gotten to this section. It's one of my favorite sections, so I'm excited to get going on this. But first, of course, we want to review the mindfulness stuff. And just, again, you're going to hear this over and over again. It's just trying to get you aware of it. But mindfulness is just the non-judgmental awareness of what's happening to you in the present moment or any given moment, how much you're aware of it. And it's just that awareness of self. And specifically, as you've seen over the last few weeks, people just walk around in automatic pilot and are not aware of where they're going, what they're eating, and what they're doing or what they're working on. So just I want to pop in real quick here and see, where you guys are at on this. So specific to nutrition, just a quick poll to see where are you at on nutrition. Is it something that you're thinking more about? Yes, a lot more. Thinking about it daily or a little bit, or thinking about it a little bit, meaning thinking about it every few days it pops in your mind, or something that only when somebody mentions it, or no, nothing's changed. I haven't really bought into it yet. So looks like about 67% of you have voted. It looks like everybody's in agreement that yes, it's a lot more that you're thinking about it, which is awesome. That's kind of our intent. So moving on then, the other one we talked about is activity. So when it comes to exercise and activity, do you find yourself, again, yes, I've been trying to incorporate more activity, more exercise each day, or a little bit more, think about it a few times a week, it pops into my head? Or are you in the no, only if somebody asks me about it, or no, not really thinking about it? So if you could fill that out real quick just to see where everybody's at. Again, we're just trying to figure out if we're making headway here. So again, we're good. You guys are awesome. Looks like we have popped it into, yes, you've been incorporating or trying to incorporate. And that's what a lot of this program is about. As we talked about last week, if you saw that webinar, that there's this whole idea of mindfulness. It's just simply that. Don't just look, but observe things. Don't just swallow, but taste the food. Don't just sleep, but dream, which is what we're going to talk about today. And don't just think, but feel. And the biggest one, let's not just exist, but let's actually live. So that's what we're going to go through today. And of course, we've introduced you to our friend the elephant, and hopefully you now understand the difference between the rider and our friend the elephant. So the rider being our analytical side, our logical side, it understands what the task is at hand, but unless it's trained the elephant, unless it's gotten the cooperation of the elephant, and unless it's cleared the pathway, then our emotional side of this elephant is going to go along wherever it wants to go, and the rider eventually becomes unable and doesn't have the strength to control the elephant unless it's been trained all along. So in the past, a lot of people catch on to this and they start using it through the day. And in the past, we've even in the book, you'll see pictures of people painting elephants. So we've even had people go down to the ceramic shop and paint their own elephant so that they can have that constant visual reminder of their elephant in the room. So maybe that's a poll for a later day if you guys would be interested in going down and painting your own elephant so that you have that constant visual reminder. And no, it's not an art class, so we're not going to be judging how you paint it. Just if you're interested in doing that, I'll send out a questionnaire on that later. So let's move along with the agenda. So last week we talked about guiding principles and the 20 words that you think best describe you. And then, wait a minute. Click the wrong button. That's what happens when you're new to this. So how many of you, hopefully you did that exercise, and then after that we talked about the magic wand exercise of filling out those 20 words that you feel you want to describe you. So how many of you, we're going to launch another poll here real quick. I know I'm a little poll heavy at the beginning, but we're going to get into more dialogue later. So how many of you completed that and were able to get 20 words for all, for both the what you think about yourself right now and your magic wand of wanting to, who you want to be described as? So it looks like a spread. We got partially completed on both, partially completed on one. Okay, so yeah, we got a little bit of work. It's actually pretty difficult, as you probably figured out. When the first few words come pretty quickly, and then after that, it really takes that thought. And again, it's a mindfulness exercise so that you understand what are those things that, and it might not just be what you think about yourself, but it's what other people have told you about you. It's kind of that, if someone were to ask you to describe yourself, what would those first 20 words be that you would use to describe yourself? And not necessarily, it's all encompassing of where you are at your journey at any given time, but to write those words down and think about what words have people used to describe you, whether you like them or not is not the case. It's not a judgmental thing. Remember, mindfulness isn't judgmental. It's just, it is what it is. But what is a little judgmental is if you look at the magic wand exercise of what do you really want to be, what would you like people to say about you? That's where you need to kind of put that thought into play. Because why is it important? Well, as we said last time, a quote from Gandhi, your beliefs become your thoughts, and your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. So the reason for this exercise is to understand who we think we are, what has encompassed us up to this point, and then who do we want to be? Where do we want to go with this thing? Because eventually what you want to do is wean it down. So even if you're here, what are the top 10, your top 10? And this is your top 10 of the top 10 words you want people to say to describe you. So again, you've seen those in the past. You've seen the different leadership things. They'll have people write their obituaries as a way of trying to define at the end of your life, what do you want people to say you were? In my other book, Life Pioneers, I kind of take a different tint on it in that book, and it's a discussion between a grandpa and a grandson, and the grandson asking the grandpa how he got to where he is in life. And basically the thought being that if you were to have a discussion with a grandchild in the future, what would they say? What would your story be that you're telling them? And then what kind of questions would they ask you? And what would you answer when they ask you those questions about why you did what you did, where you got in life, what what your goals were, those kind of things. And I think it becomes a more interesting conversation when, if you write an obituary, it's the end and nobody can ask you questions. But what's really interesting to me is if someone were to interview you late in your life and you tell your story, and then they can ask you questions to clarify, where you went, what you did, decisions you made, what would that be like? I think that's the ultimate in mindfulness exercises, is that thought of what would you say when you were asked those questions. So again, it's just another mindful deal. And also back to in the introduction, we talked about Pareto's principles, because the next step of this process, if you've seen it in the book, is you go down to the vital three. So you take this list of 20 things, 20 magic wand guiding principles, and they can be the same ones, right? So if you have some on your guiding principle list that you are happy with and you want, that's part of who you want to be, then that can be on your top 10 list and might even be on your vital three. But the vital three is more of the things I absolutely want to work on. So if you take the 20 guiding principles that you currently think about yourself, and then you look at your magic wand list of who you want people to describe you as, or who you want people to think of you as, what are the top three on that list that you really want, that you're missing, or maybe aren't fully actualized? Maybe it's stuff that is kind of there, but you want more of it. You want people to say, oh, that person was philanthropic, or that person helped youth, or whatever it is that is your passion in life. And maybe it's not to the level you want it to. That would go on your vital three list of, these are the three things that I really want to focus on. Because again, what we're trying to do with this is give the elephant some direction too. A lot of times our writer or analytical side understands it, but the elephant doesn't. So pin it down to those three that you want. You don't want to have too many. You don't want a list of 20 things you're trying to work on, because if you're trying to work on too many things, then nothing gets accomplished.